Welcome to another edition of Michigan Conservative Roundtable. Today we're going to talk about how uncivil our society has been. And this is going to be kind of a conversational video, so we're kind of playing it off the cuff. When I say uncivil, I mean just the lack of basic courtesy people show each other every day. For instance, one of my pet peeves is you'll go to a store, perhaps Walmart, Meijer, we have Meijer here in Michigan, whatever the case may be, and you'll have an aisle, and because the stores all have narrow aisleways because they want the maximum amount of merchandise in the store for you to buy, the aisles are narrower than they used to be years ago. And someone will park their car, let's say, on the left side of the aisle and stand on the right side of the aisle. They'll see you and not move. They expect you to stand there and wait until they're done and
well,
move
it's
on your way.
about their convenience, not yours.
Right, absolutely.
You know,
and that's usually
about.
what I think what drives most of these kind of things. Another one you'll see is on the road, where people will pull up and block a driveway, even though the light's red, and they really have nowhere to go. But it's those basic little greed is what I call it greed with no gain. You're being greedy about nothing. Oh, I'm going to get up one spot further, rather than let you out when the light changes very quickly. Then you have the others who want to let everyone out, and they're just as obnoxious, or a road menace as I like to call them.
Yeah.
So
do it one at a time, like a cog in a machine almost. There's nothing wrong with that, and everybody can do it, and it's very civil and considerate without going to either extreme.
right, and I think we need civility just to have a peaceful life. Everyone would like to have a peaceful life, at least I think they would. They would like to just go through their business, they'd like to raise their family, have a nice life, without a bunch of conflict everywhere you go. But incivility makes that difficult. I know one of your favorites is the people who continue to shop while they're in line.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that all sorts of scenarios there. What I'd like to share is, without going into a whole lot of detail where I work, I cannot tell you how, I'll say on a daily basis, I will witness parents with their children in tow, and the kid could very well be acting up. I mean, he could be legitimately misbehaving, only for the parent to turn, unleash a slew of curse words and profanity toward him, following up with, "I'll beat your ass." And I watch this, I witness it, I'm really helpless to do much about it, but I wonder, this kid is screwed. This kid has this child has this person showing them how to act, even though they're not really showing them how to act, but in his mind, that's his example to follow. And what hope does that guy, what hope does that child have in life?
Yeah, exactly. And the fact is, they are teaching that child something. They're teaching them how to behave wrongly, how to behave poorly. I mean, every human action teaches us something or another, whether we want to admit it or not. People will try to say, "I'm not a role model. I didn't ask to be a role model." Tough. You're a role model, especially when you're a parent.
Your kids are going to do what you do, good, bad, or even indifferent.
Exactly.
You guys have some other examples of incivility in society?
Just lack of respect in the children, and we'll use the same parent, they will see how their parents react to when they shop. They forget that they're on someone else's property, subject to that person, that landlord's policies and procedures. And so when the parent objects to whatever those policies are, and objects in the manner with which they object, as Marty's saying, they're teaching the child how to act, basically how to object to authority.
Well, years ago, you and I don't know if you remember this or not, but you and I went to a Detroit Tiger game at Comerica Park, and we were sitting out in the right field seats. I think we had tickets complimented of someone else, and we saw a family. It was a father, and I'm presuming a father, and some small children, boys, and we noticed them because they were sitting in some seats. People would walk up, they would get out of those seats, move to other seats, only to have the same thing happen. because a lot of times
Yeah, I
at these
remember that.
ballparks it takes to the fourth inning before everyone's in their seat. And after we saw it the third or fourth time, I said, "Can't you believe this stuff?" And he goes, "No, he's teaching his kid to be a criminal or a thug,
Yeah.
to take what he knows isn't his,
Yeah.
and to get away with what he can get away with."
Yeah, absolutely.
Is the message there? So
Well, I mean, at the risk, I don't want to go to extremes on this, but I think this is a good example. You remember, it's been a year or so ago, that Florida Stand Your Ground incident?
yeah,
Okay, now, everybody was really, really mad. That guy, the guy got pushed, and the man got shot and killed. This woman lost her baby daddy, and everybody's making out like this reflects poorly on conservatives, on gun laws, on Stand Your Ground. But there's something people don't remember about that. That woman pulled up and parked in a handicapped space. She parked illegally without any consideration for anybody else.
Right.
And when she was interviewed on CBS News a few days later, do you know what she said? "I was just parking. I've got the right to park where I want." Well, guess what, sweetheart? Your baby daddy is dead because you got the right to park where you want. And that, I think, is a perfect example of incivility.
Yeah.
Lack of consideration for handicapped citizens, lack of consideration for the law. You got the right to park where you want, where it's closest to the door, no matter what. Your baby's father is dead, in part because of you.
well, it goes further. He had to be uncivil. He couldn't say, "Hey, listen, I want you to leave my wife or
Yeah.
baby mama alone." He had to start off with pushing and shoving.
Yeah. And you know what? I'll even concede that the guy that made an issue of it would have been better off just ignoring it. I'll even make that concession right there. But he was still right insofar as pointing out that this woman was being uncivil by parking where she wants to. And nobody ever thinks about that part of it. If she'd have parked in a regular parking space, there had never been this incident, and her baby daddy would still be alive.
Right.
If I could follow up also, civilized society has rules of conduct and proper decorum. Her parking where she shouldn't have in a handicap spot is an example of lack of proper decorum,
Absolutely.
Just total disregard for the law, the rules, and it's a lot of the road rage we see out there. Lack of civility, You let someone in when they didn't let someone in. Or here's something: how many of us have quit using our turn signals because the guy's going to speed up?
Oh, that's me all day long.
All right, so you throw that into the mix.
I heard a comedian say
know?
that if he wanted to get over to the left, he would put his right turn signal on, so when everyone went over to block him, he'd have a clear line.
I know that's not the right thing to endorse, but fact of the matter is, you know what? If I think the guy's going to speed up, I don't even use it anymore. I just do it.
And the thing is, a lot of this stuff is really very, very simple. It's
Yeah.
really very simple. Don't block an aisleway. Don't block a driveway.
Yeah.
The golden rule says treat people the way you would want to be treated. Well, do you want the aisleway blocked? Well, then don't block it on other people.
Yeah, and don't act like you're the only one in the store. I see that all the time. I have people almost run into me and they look astonished that someone else is there.
Yeah.
I mean, it's unbelievable.
And every great once in a while, I even have people look at me in that or a similar situation, and they'll go, "Oh, I'm sorry," and I believe they're honestly sorry. I believe that
Yeah.
they didn't realize, in some cases, they genuinely didn't realize what they were doing, but they've still been taught, they've still had it ingrained in them that it's about their convenience.
When I run across a younger kid, and they say "excuse me" or "thank you" or "please," I'm astonished because that's the lack of civility that we have.
I
in
had a
this
young
country.
man in my shop the other day that called me sir, and after he left, I actually thought, wow,
Yeah.
that was the sort of thing I was taught to do. So it can be taught. I mean, this young man's a great example of, all right, maybe I did feel a little bit offended at first, "Sir, how old do you think I am?"
Yeah.
But then when rationality kicked in, it was like he was being polite and considerate of his elders, but you should be. And it can be taught.
On that note, do you have anything, sir?
Well, I was just going to throw in here.
That was rude, Mac.
But I don't know if it's a little off topic, but Mac and I were joking around about maybe one of us wearing a "Make America Great Again" hat while the other one at a distance videotapes response. But then we thought that wouldn't be smart because we might get shot.
Yeah.
So
And we're not Jussie Smollett's.
and so I don't know. I doubt for fear of being shot or someone coming at us with a bat or something. I mean, you know what? You got that kid sitting in a fast food place, and the guy, a big bully, comes up and yanks his hat off.
And then throws a drink in his face.
And and that would be of where we're heading. You know, uncivil society. You know, that guy clearly has no respect for that guy's airspace, as I like to say, and you know, and the fact that that's private property he stole from his head, and just a lack of decorum and everything else. I mean,
but he feels like he's because he feels justified that his views are so pure and virtuous and righteous that the other guy's got to be the evil. And you know, who doesn't want to punch a Nazi in the face? I saw on a comment section of a post on Facebook, and I thought, well, who says they're a Nazi?
Yeah,
you?
Yeah.
And then therefore you have the license to punch this guy in the face?
And you know what, fellas? There are people that are going to watch this, and they're going to say, look at those three guys in the red shirt, how intolerant they are.
That's right. Yeah.
And all we're asking for is basic human decency for everybody.
As I like to often do, I like to quote the late Archbishop Fulton Sheen. He said about tolerance, he said, who tolerates anything any good? Do you tolerate a fine meal? Do you tolerate looking at a beautiful woman or beautiful man, if you're of that ilk? And
do you tolerate a Hardee's breakfast?
Yes, I certainly can.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's absolutely right. Nobody nobody worries about tolerating that. It's sort of, I don't know if I'm going to get this quite right, but people always say things like, don't judge me, don't judge me, don't judge me. But if I go, Terry, that was a really good video you did, Terry's not going to say, don't judge me. You know?
Yeah, that's right. It's only a one-way street. You were talking about people on your Facebook. You were mentioning.
Oh yeah. I've had good, what I thought were good friends, people I've known 40 and 50 years now, that have told me things like, I need to be re-educated. Well, forgive me if the first word that comes to my mind after re-education is equals gulag.
Yeah.
Because that's what all these tolerant progressives want, is for us to think like them. Wow, that doesn't sound like tolerance to me.
And there's no tolerance for any dissension.
No tolerance for any dissension whatsoever.
You need to be punished. And so
I was told I was trolling. We're friends. I've known this person for 50 years. We've been Facebook friends for 5 or 10. And when I've commented on her page, I've been told, Marty, you're trolling.
Well, and if you didn't comment, you'd be wrong.
Yeah.
So there's no winning with some folks. But we'll wrap this up by just saying, it takes very little effort to show a little bit of courtesy to other people. Spread the kindness around.
Use your
be
turn
polite.
signal.
He and I will know we're average shooters, and we know there is no place more courteous than at the gun range. People will hold the door for you. They'll say please and thank you and hello, how are you today? And I think it speaks more to who they are than what we're all there doing. But we all would benefit from a more civil society.
And to be honest, we all could be more courteous, I think.
Absolutely. But, So as we like to say on the Michigan Conservative Roundtable, be safe, watch your six, and don't tread on me.